Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Fundamentalist Podcast, a Carnival creation with listener or viewer wrath in mind. We are the kings of said Carnival creation. My name is Duel, and I'll be joined by my co-host Dan in just a little bit. On this episode, we're going to be discussing At the Gates' new record, To Drink from the Night Itself, and how The Lurking Fear, a side project from members of At the Gates, has influenced their new album's sound. By viewer request, we will also be discussing and having a retrospective on Carach Angren's 2015 album, This Is No Fairy Tale. And to wrap the whole show up, we're going to be talking about black metal. How does a genre that was created to incite fear, hatred, and generally be contrarian to mainstream society survive, let alone thrive in such a politically correct culture? All this and more on this episode of The Fundamentalists. So welcome back into the Fundamentalist Show. So before we get into the aforementioned topics that we're going to be discussing today, we do have a really tasty tour announcement. Morbid Angel, Origin, The Dreaming Dead, and Hate Storm Annihilation are going on tour together from April 16th through May 17th. Check online for whatever your local date is. Unfortunately, it's coming nowhere near me unless I want to go to like Houston or Atlanta. But that's a fucking brutally awesome tour. Morbid Angel is fucking amazing. Death metal gods. Origin, quite frankly, run the game as far as tech death goes in the modern era. There's not a lot of bands that come close to them. John Longstreth is God. Jason Kaiser is a fucking amazing vocalist. The Dreaming Dead is a fucking amazing band. Brett actually happened to be recording this on International Women's Day, and The Dreaming Dead is run by women. The main guitar player, writer, and vocalist is a woman, as were many members of the backing band when I saw them, with Nile, Immolation, and The Rose Funeral back in like 2010 or 2011. To be honest, I haven't seen much activity from them since then, so I don't know if the members have changed, but in any case, I feel like it fits the bill. International Women's Day. Definitely fucking check that band out. And then Hate Storm Annihilation, I gotta be honest, I'm completely ignorant about that band.
So it's a good opportunity for you to check them out.
But that's why they're opening on the bill, to get more people into them. Anyway, that's our tasty tour announcement for the day. So we're going to go ahead and get into the main crux of the show that we already mentioned. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a shot, Sir Daniel.
Hails.
Prost. Welcome to the Fundamentalists. All right. So, At the Gates, legendary melodic death metal band, is about to put out a new record, To Drink from the Night Itself. And they just put out a brand new single of the same title, which, if you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely should. It's available on YouTube and basically anywhere else music is available, Spotify and all that shit. We posted it on the Fundamentalist Facebook page, and a good friend of mine, actually is a former collaborator on a previous podcast that I used to be associated with.
That which will not be named
Made
now.
it, well, not on purpose, but
not with bad intent.
made a pretty good point now that I've listened to them. I didn't know this at the time. He mentioned that the side project of various members of At the Gates, The Lurking Fear, was seemingly kind of creeping into the new At the Gates sound. There was a little bit more death metal in this single, To Drink from the Night Itself, than there was on their previous record, to be fair. Let's get this out of the way. I didn't know that The Lurking Fear existed. How I didn't know that a H.P. Lovecraft / Cthulhu mythos band
With members of At the Gates.
Yeah.
Like, this is a big ball drop.
How I didn't know that didn't exist, or how I didn't know that that existed, absolutely blew my mind. Hashtag reasons I'm untrue. Anyway, I quickly rectified this fact. So before we talk about At the Gates, just to give you a little backdrop on The Lurking Fear, like I said, they're a Lovecraft-themed band, but instead of At the Gates' normal sound, which is like, the harmonized leads, very, very mellow, deathy sound, The Lurking Fear is very much old school death metal. There are elements of that mellow death that the members of At the Gates are known for, but if
It's more straightforward.
Yeah,
Kind of almost thrashy in a way.
in a way,
Almost.
yeah. Like if The Lurking Fear had come out in like '93, they would have fit right in.
Yeah.
There are three different members of At the Gates who are in there, and I actually got them written down here. Sorry, Thomas Lindberg, Jonas Stahlhammer, and Adrian Erlandson are from At the Gates, and then Andreas Axelson from Marduk is also in that band. So essentially, they're a super group, and they're really fucking nasty. You should definitely check them out. But they're very, very straightforward. Like some of their songs from their album, The Infernal Dread. Well, The Infernal Dread is just one track off that record, and that clocks in under 3 minutes. To add to your point, they're very straightforward and to the point. Their debut record, Out of the Voiceless Grave, just came out last year. So if you were ignorant to that band, like I was, then I highly recommend you check them out. Whether you're a fan of Lovecraft or the Cthulhu mythos, or just a
At the
fan
Gates
of
in general.
yeah, or both, like I am. I'm a huge At the Gates and H.P. Lovecraft fanboy. So, one, I was embarrassed and driven to the point of suicide by not knowing that this existed. I felt like I needed to turn in my metal card. But now that I've educated myself, I feel great, and I feel like you should check them out.
Just so you know, he had to listen to K-pop for an entire afternoon as penance.
Well, I was listening to Marina and the Diamonds earlier, so I guess that's kind of the same thing, but that was totally by choice. Pop music isn't bad, y'all, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
Oh, and suddenly everyone dropped off our subscriptions.
Anyway, back to At the Gates. So, let's not beat around the bush here. At the Gates is pretty much At the Gates. This new single, To Drink from the Night Itself, sounds a lot like them. Badass, harmonized guitars, epic fucking leads. Their chorus just makes you want to throw your horns in the air and just bang your head. But there is a little bit more of that kind of traditional death metal sound in the riffs. It's going to be very interesting to see where the rest of the album goes. But now that my friend John, who mentioned that he heard a lot of The Lurking Fear in that record, I can't help but hear it since he suggested it. So when this new record comes out, I'll be listening with a very close ear to see if there's any more of those traditional death metal sounds in what has been a pioneering mellow death band. In any case, To Drink from the Night Itself will be out later on this year. You should definitely check that out, whether you're a fan of metal death or just good metal in general. Danielson,
What's up?
any thoughts?
Well, it's definitely, like I said, more straightforward sound, faster pace. It's not necessarily the kind of ornate original At the Gates that we heard. But, in general, I'm excited. I think it's a great marketing tool. You make an epic album, then wait 20 years and start making new music. Of course, everyone's going to be waiting for another taste of glory. So, it's a good day for heavy metal.
One thing I can say is that when it comes to At the Gates side projects, The Lurking Fear kicks the living shit out of The Haunted. Sorry if you're a fan of The Haunted, but this band is
Fair
better.
assessment. I agree with that.
This band is better. Just
Yes.
saying. Not that The Haunted's bad, but The Lurking Fear is
Much.
just a little bit above them on the totem pole. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on. Next subject we're going to be talking about is a subject that's near and dear to my co-host's heart. Considering he's been a fan of Carach Angren for a very long time, when we got a listener request to do a retrospective on This Is No Fairy Tale, and I told him about it, he was like, dude, word, that's one of my favorite albums. I saw them on that album tour. I know all about this shit. So, John Lawrence Kephart, I'm gotta be honest, dude, I don't know how to necessarily pronounce your name. Educate me in person. Meet me in person. That happens first. So,
First of all, thanks for reaching out to us. And for anyone who else wants to reach out to us, maybe a phonetic spelling of your name so we can figure it out. We're just dumb Americans here, so
yeah,
we if it's not Smith, we're out in the dark.
Yeah, and if the band's not pronounced Carach Angren, then I
Actually,
guess I just fucked.
funny story about. Okay, so I've been a fan of I call them Carach Angren. And the reason I will stick by that is because when I saw them live, you know, it was the big moment. Finally, I'm gonna know how to say their name. Finally, and then the vocalist
Hashtag things only a black metal fan would say.
right, and then, you know, here comes the epic moment. It was at the old Masquerade. It was in hell at the old Masquerade in Atlanta, Georgia.
Before you continue, let's just talk about how weird it is to say the old Masquerade.
Oh, dude, it's insane. I mean, it's just a sign of the times, though. I mean,
as a metalhead from Mobile who now lives in New Orleans, I've traveled many, many, many a weary miles to the Masquerade to see killer shows, and the Masquerade is no longer where it used to be. And it blows my fucking mind. The fact that the floor in hell above you won't be bouncing up and down from the pit.
No, the best part is when you're
heart.
on the top floor and you're bouncing up and down in heaven. So the Masquerade we almost need an entire segment on this. I'm about to go visit the new Masquerade, hopefully next week, and we'll have we'll need to talk about this in further.
Oh, you're going to that Dark Funeral fucking.
That is the plan. Septic Flesh is headlining. Dark Funeral is supporting, and those are the two bands that I've seen Septic Flesh before. Amazing.
I'm jealous as fuck. I'm sending you with a field recorder, and you better come back with some juicy.
Oh, dude, I've got the iPhone. We'll make this happen. So let's get back on the subject. So
I'm getting you a fucking press pass.
Let's do it. I'm not afraid. So Carach Argon, whatever pronouncing fits your tongue best. So here we are. We're at the Masquerade. We're in hell, the old Masquerade. Finally, the moment's gonna happen. I'm gonna figure out how to say this goddamn band's name. I've loved them forever. I messaged them on fucking MySpace about when are you guys coming to the U.S.
Kind of dated himself.
What's that?
Just dated himself.
Everything I like is like 10 years old. I'm dated anyways. So, been waiting for this band to hit the shores of the U.S. Missed them the first time. This is gonna be it. This is the moment. And finally, the vocalist comes to the mic and he says, "We are." And I'm like, God, motherfucker, like.
Just indiscernible noise.
Indiscernible, like. And I mean, cult as fuck, but, like, how the fuck do you say your name still?
You just threw your word.
Right, exactly. Your word horns, like, yeah, whatever you said, bro. So, anyways, back to this album.
Donald Trump 2016, and the crowd would have been like, yeah.
Ooh, I don't know. Anyways.
If he'd said it in Norwegian, no one would have cared.
Right. Would Norway say that now?
I mean, no. But the people in Atlanta wouldn't.
Back to metal.
The people at the Masquerade wouldn't give him a shit. They'd just be like, you speak in Norwegian.
I've seen people at the Masquerade follow Norwegian lyrics word for word. Anyways, so let's get to this album.
Hashtag
this is
Georgians cult as fuck.
This is no fairy tale. So
it's basically a fucked up retelling of the Hansel and Gretel myth.
It's a reinterpretation of Hansel and Gretel
story from the Grimm's fairy tales.
But instead of kids running away and making a breadcrumb to find their way back, or wherever the hell that fairy tale from my lost childhood is, this is about two kids, mainly centered around the daughter of the family, trying to get away from this terrible household. Lyrically, it deals with alcoholism, drug abuse, suicide of a parent, and alludes to incest and rape. Doesn't outright say it, but it's not a lot of conclusions can come out of that.
Yeah, that lead single, There's No Place Like Home, of which there's a pretty cool lyric video you can check out on YouTube.
Right, and the visual of the lyric video really drives that shit home.
Yeah, it really drives home the implied rape of the guy's 9-year-old daughter.
Right.
Basically, it sets up the album like, a young boy and his sister of age 12 and 9 hanging out with their mom, who's like a heroin addict / alcoholic.
She's a lush. She's a wino. She's a pillhead. She's not there. She's just looking for the next fix.
And then their father is horribly emotionally and physically abusive. And then, like we said in the music video, is heavily implied that he's also a bit of a pedophile and a rapist.
Right.
So, which leads the children to run away from home. Not to spoil the record for you, because in a way it does tell a story.
It's very lyrically, it's very vivid. It does narrate a storyline very well. I mean, even like I'm glad they did the lyric videos rather. But you know, even without it, it's still the lyrics are very well done.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that, because I feel like the lyrics are kind of fucking goofy. I think Carach Angren is known for having kind of goofy fucking lyrics.
When you read them out loud, yeah, it's goofy as shit.
Let's read them out loud. One of the lines from "There's No Place Like Home." Father was a drinker and a goddamn fiend, a sadistic motherfucker whose soul was meant for the devil. That's not the normal thing you hear in fucking black metal. Honestly, that sounds like something you'd read in either a 13-year-old girl's diary or lyrics from Disturbed. Either or. Pick your pick.
It almost comes off as one of the Korn albums from back in the day.
For real, dude.
But the cadence and the delivery of the lyrics, and it works with the syncopation of the band's instrumentals so well.
What you just mentioned, the rhythm, syncopation, and the vocal cadence of Carach Angren really set them apart from black metal in general.
It's not
they're a black metal band.
It's not screeching about my black shadow forever haunts these darkened halls. It's not that shit. It's real life horrors. It's not about religion. It's not about this stuff that, you know, Antifa's getting fucking pissed about.
But I kind of feel like that hurts them, because honestly, I feel like Carach Angren is more known for their "You Came to the Wrong Forest, Motherfucker" T-shirt,
which also became an epic meme. You know,
yeah, than they are for their actual music. I mean,
they're
as solid as they are as a band, they're not wholly traditional black metal, but they're not also your quintessential symphonic metal band either. I think they really occupy a really nice middle ground, if you will.
I think that they are building towards the sound. Now, they have an album after this, and we can talk about that another time.
I haven't heard it, honestly.
I mean, I heard it a couple times. I like this album much better than the release that came after it. So, I believe, you know, they're on the track to becoming like another Dimmu Borgir or Cradle of Filth. If Cradle of Filth were true, they'd be Carach Angren.
Hashtag Cradle of Filth was true. With a V.
Hashtag still Cradle of Filth fan. Anyways, and more subscribers just dropped off. Right here, buddy. Anyways, so yeah, vocally it's very different from your, you know, even your symphonic black metal bands that are known and loved. So, I mean, I like the album. I like the narrative of it. I like the cadences, and I like the rhythms and syncopations. It goes in that first track, went very well to like this marching call to arms.
Stringed intro, like really creepy female operatic vocals there, just kind of leading you into the record. It's very atmospheric. It's awesome.
It's very theatrical and almost like, dare I say, like black metal radio show. Like he does vocal characters. He's not afraid to
black
go
there. Black metal
there.
meets a Prairie Home Companion.
Hashtag we still miss Garrison Keillor.
The rapist.
The alleged sexual assault. Yeah, not that part, but everything up until that.
We listen to too much NPR here. Me too. Sorry, guys.
Anyways, Chris Steele's live from here. Let's do it. Anyways, so I believe that pretty much sums up, but it leads into another topic that we could talk about, which is animated lyric videos versus
because Carach Angren's lead single from that record.
Two lyric videos versus one live video.
There's No Place Like Home is a lyric video, and when me and Dan were watching this video when we were doing show prep, we actually started having this discussion that we kind of prefer lyric videos as opposed to actual, like, you know, music videos, because I feel like when it comes to metal music videos, you know, most people just mail it in. It's like, let's just
do a bunch of live footage in a warehouse with fog machines. It's gonna be epic, dude. It's fucking metal.
Oh, let's run around in a graveyard. Like
right.
One of my favorite bands, the Black Dahlia Murder, did for What a Horrible Night to Have Occurred.
Let's run around in a forest with torches.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, although we still love a bot.
We do. absolutely do. And my son Bram and my wife Nicole just made a cameo on the show. They hear screeches and the toilet flush. So say hi, everybody. Anyway, the idea that you just need to fucking make a fucking live performance video, bro, like you said, in a warehouse or a graveyard is totally antiquated. And honestly, I feel like unless you have really good production value or you have some sort of comedic element to your music
Or some kind of
videos,
storyline or something.
yeah, you gotta have some sort of narrative. Other than that, I feel like a lyric video is by far the superior way to go. I mean, let's be real here.
It takes arguably more production value to pull off. It lets your audience know the lyrics. I mean, I remember when CDs still were in the plateau of their existence, and I was a dumb kid straight out of high school who didn't have to show up, 5 days a week to class. I would show up to the CD store the day an album would come out, wait for that fucking gate to roll open at your local FYE, may they rest in peace, and buy the album, go in my car, listen to it, fucking crank the AC and just read every lyric. And I miss those days so much. And honestly, like with this fast paced, obviously life is not that terrible, but it is a little bit more, divided attention, with social media and everyday obligations. You just don't, since CDs have fallen out of vogue, you don't have that opportunity as readily available as you did when you bought the CD. You had the liner notes. You could get the artist's thoughts and everything.
Well, that, and let's be real, we're here in extreme metal. Even if you're a fan of the genre, if you listen to death and black metal, the lyrics aren't always discernible.
Right.
I'm beyond trying to pretend like I understand everything my favorite bands are saying.
No, in fact, when I have this discussion about, you can't understand what we're saying. Have you listened to pop music lately? I don't even think they're using full sentences anymore.
I was actually about to make that point, but the opposite way. I see a lot of metalheads making fun of mumble rap. Granted, I don't like mumble rap, but you really are the pot calling the kettle black when you're like, you can't even understand what they're saying. Really, dude? You're wearing a Cannibal Corpse t-shirt. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, as a fan, the most, I don't know, I hope somebody else feels this way. I'm about to out myself, but the thing is, like, when the vocalist puts the mic up to your face and you're finally in the front row and the vocalist puts your mic, you're like, fuck, if it was the song.
I never learned what he said.
Alright, if it had been the song before the song with the music video, I'd know this shit, but you're playing an arbitrary track from album 2, so sorry, bruh. Yeah, and then you just scream out something discernible. But, if we go with Amar Mar says, it doesn't matter if you understand the lyrics, it's death metal.
Metal head nonsense.
Hashtag, I don't need to know the words.
Hashtag, this segment's over. The final segment of this episode of The Fundamentalist is a little bit of a free-form topic. Last episode, we got into the subject of Take versus Antifa.
And I feel like we didn't really finish that topic.
I feel like we did, at least more so than we should have anyway. The Fundamentalist is not a political show. It was never meant to be a political show. We don't want to be a political show, and we will not be a political show. However, I'm going to preface this segment with this intro. Black metal, as we know, was formed by domestic terrorists. Black metal was formed by people who were burning down churches and murdering their bandmates.
Now we're talking about the second wave of black metal, Norwegian black metal.
Hang on, not only did Varg murder Euronymous, but let's not forget what John Notvite did from Dissection. John Notvite murdered a gay man just because he was gay. If you've seen the documentary Until the Light Takes Us, there's an interview from Hellhammer, who's currently in Doom Warrior, one of the biggest bands of black metal, who said,
call you out.
we thought John was a goof, but when we found out that John had killed that quote-unquote F word, I don't think I need to tell you what it is, our respect for him grew that day. That tells you all you need to know about the mindset those people were in at that time. It's been a good 25 years since then, and their perspectives, I'm sure, have changed. But even if they haven't, let's talk about just black metal in general from that perspective. These were the founders. This is what black metal was created to be. Anti-Christian, anti pretty much everything except for European pagan. And now we're in an insanely politically correct environment, at least here in the United States. I don't know what it's like over there in Europe or anywhere else in the world, but at least here in the United States, where me and Daniel here live.
Very misguidedly altruistic.
Yeah, we live here in a very politically correct society. So...
Sorry, guys, I'm making a drink.
It's okay. We're about to take another shot. It's okay.
That's right.
So we here at the Fundamentalists, every now and then, do want to have some serious topics. And this is a very serious one. Black metal, which was created to be contrarian, controversial, and basically aggressive towards mainstream society, is now considered aggressive and contrarian to mainstream society. And people are getting upset, aka the Take Antifa thing. Although the Antifa calling Take white nationalists, I think, was completely misguided and unfounded because they're going off a lot of gray area, we want to talk about black metal in general in that sense. The genre was founded on unaltruistic means. Let's put it that way. It was always meant to be violent and aggressive. And now it's being viewed as violent as aggressive 20 to 25 years later, and some bands are becoming pariahs. Granted, black metal has evolved. There are bands like Der Vegan or Freiheit or Harikari for the Sky. I mean, there's DSBM black metal that are going away from discussing worldly issues and worldly hates that they have. People aren't talking about fuck religion, fuck Christianity, fuck Islam, fuck gay people, or any of that sort of shit. They're more talking about fuck myself, or they're going on this shoegaze route like Death Heaven, or they're talking about outer space. Basically, non-controversial topics. So Dan, now that I've said that, I'm going to cede the floor to you, and I'm going to ask, what do you think black metal's true role in culture or society, North American speaking, is today?
All right, so before I have
Prost.
any intense conversation, I always take a shot. Skull. Now that that's out of the way. So here's the deal. As I understand it, Euronymous was the head ringleader of what they called the Black Circle, which is the basically founding fathers of Norwegian black metal as we know it. The second wave of black metal. Black metal did exist before this, a la Venom, Merciful Fate, names like that. But Euronymous
Didn't
looked
become
around.
black metal as we know it until that wave of what you're talking
Right,
about.
that was black metal.
Mayhem
And then Norway happened. So we'll say it like that. So Euronymous looked around, and at the time, in the early 90s, death metal was popular. And death metal could be played on stage in sweatpants and flip-flops. And he was like, this is disgusting. So, death metal is a lot of times the inverse of black metal. Not the deep guttural vocals, but in black metal we have the screeching higher pitch vocals. Not the chunky guitar, but instead we have the fast-paced tremolo guitar.
And I feel like death metal is extremely technical and almost like is proud of how well you can play. Look at Death and Chuck Schuldiner. Whereas I feel like black metal takes a very Slayer/punk rocky tone.
Right.
As in like
it has thrash roots. It has
it's all about
roots.
attitude. We don't need to
Right.
play every note right.
Exactly, and so that's musically what the foundation is. Okay, so again, going against everything mainstream, going against everything popular at the time, black metal also had a very much one-upmanship mentality. I'm more darker than you. No, fuck you, I'm more darker than you. Fuck you, I'm gonna burn a church now. Fuck you, I burned 3 churches now. Fuck you, I'm gonna murder you. And he did. Bart has murdered his bandmate, Uranus.
And then John's like, fuck you, I'm gonna murder a gay guy.
Right.
Hate crime. What's up?
I'm more evil
Hashtag
than you.
We don't condone hate crimes. We don't condone violence against anybody.
No. No. No.
And that's kind of what, like, for me as a metalhead, it's really difficult to reconcile my fandom of Dissection. Like, Dissection is quite possibly the second or third most influential band on me as not only a metal fan, but a guitar player in everything that I did. And I have to reconcile that with the fact that John Notvite was kind of a piece of shit.
You know, I feel like sometimes people's art is better than they are.
But Hitler was an artist too. I don't have Hitler paintings hanging in my house.
No, but Hitler used very textbook theatrics to gain favor in society. And that is why theatrics and like setting of the mood is so important. We saw it's an example of how effective it can be in the wrong hands. Back to black metal. So, all right, would black metal survive today if it had started today instead of the 90s? I'm not sure.
I feel like Slayer is a really good example. Like Slayer in 1986, their most popular song, their most popular record, Rain and Blood, Angel of Death, all about Joseph Mengele, or Mengele, I guess it depends on how you want to pronounce his name. All about the atrocities committed during the Holocaust. And they still play that song to this day, and it's one of their most popular songs, and I feel like they get a pass for that. But if they hadn't put that out today, would they not be branded Nazis?
So here,
Nazis, regardless of the fact that Tom Araya, who's singing the lyrics, he didn't write them, but he's singing them, is a Spanish or a Hispanic man. I don't know. I really don't know. And that's what's really difficult in today's society. I feel like some bands get complete passes and some are overly scrutinized.
So here's the thing, all right? If people don't do the research, okay, and we can see this in other areas of life, okay, where somebody sees something on the internet, it's a hoax, they share it, their friends think it's real too, okay? That kind of incident is, to me, what kind of happened with Antifa versus Take. You know, I mean, Take is just this obscure band from Norway when you look at the bigger picture, okay? Freedom didn't win the day, okay? Liberty didn't win the day when Take canceled their tour. Something wearing Liberty's face did, okay? And I'm talking like fucking cut the skin off and wore it like, you know, Devil's Reject style, so or Leatherface style.
That sound that you hear is my dog sleeping in the background, and I love my dog.
He's
a
also
lot,
great.
so I'm not gonna interrupt him. So sorry, just letting you know that's what that low humming you hear in the background is. Everything else is just us tapping the glass table way too hard. Yeah.
Anyways. All right, so how can black metal survive? I think it's already doing its own survival. We see, for example, we see Enslaved, which has evolved.
No, they've
transcended beyond metal and black metal and all that shit. You know,
you look at Death Heaven with the shoegaze thing.
Right.
You look at Der Weg einer Freiheit, which is a German band from Munich, which I feel like is the best band in black metal, modernly speaking. They're away from pretty much any modern subject. Like, they're not getting involved in politics or things like that, which you can look at as pussing out in black metal.
Or you can look at it as being smart.
One thing I noticed I used to play in a blackened death metal band, and I used to get a lot of shit for not being fully black metal, which always really
I think it's dumb in this day and age because black metal has expanded so much.
Well, that, and I was getting shit from only Americans, which fucking, we didn't invent the genre, so how the fuck is an American gonna tell me what black metal really is or isn't? I feel like you can all eat a dick. For all of you who used to criticize me, fuck you.
So here's the thing. I do want to speak upon that. You know, I feel like on the other side of the pond is basically like what black metal is, where it's created. What's that?
It's a really loud sound.
Where black metal is created, where black metal is defined. On our side of the pond, our famous black metal bands all have a different tinge to the flavor. You know, so Nachmistium and Goat Whore, Wormreich and others, Abigail Williams.
Death Heaven, Abigail Williams. Yeah, I mean, Abigail Williams started off as like a black metalcore metalcore style band, and they eventually grew into a more traditional black metal style. Although to be honest with you, as much as the member of Abigail Williams, Ken Sorcerer, might hate it, I feel like that Legend EP that has those huge metalcore influences is one of their best releases, honestly.
Well, I mean, now you're arguing an artist's best release versus a genre.
Well, I'm just saying that for them in general, like American black metal, there's no straight up black metal release from an American band. Like all of our black metal bands
has
quote,
some
unquote,
other expansion upon the genre.
Yeah, Death Heaven is shoegaze and black metal. Goat Whore is like thrashy / Pantera groove with black metal.
By the way, we're in New Orleans, so fucking hell, Goat Whore.
Yeah. Ben Falgu, Sammy, we fucking love you. Keep carrying that flag high.
Please
just
do.
Saying. But American black metal, if it's traditional, it doesn't get noticed. The most known American black metal bands have incorporated their own thing into it.
And I too was in a band with black metal elements, and that was always our thing. That was always like the concern. How do I how does my band differentiate themselves from the rest of the band? Yeah, I can put on shitty corpse paint and some fucking like tired up spikes or whatever. Does it make me true, or does it make me a part of the herd? I feel like America's version of black metal has no real form. Does that make sense? No real formula, no real form. You know what you're getting with, Tumu Borgir. You know what you're getting with Watain. You don't know what you're getting with a U.S. black metal band.
Which is kind of interesting. Interesting.
The alcohol is taking effect.
Yeah, interesting about United States black metal. That's a subject for another day, though. I feel like that's a really deep subject. Maybe next episode.
We might come back to this.
Maybe next episode, because we're both, being huge fans of black metal that ended up being in black metal influenced bands. I feel like that's a really awesome subject for next episode. United States themed black metal. Because there's so many U.S. bands that wear corpse paint, which personally I'm going to say I'm 100% against. I don't think anybody outside of the
I stopped counting how many times
should wear corpse paint. I don't feel like, and it's usually the cunts who are out there wearing the corpse paint and doing all this ceremonial shit who are so judgmental to anybody else in black metal, or especially United States black metal. It's one thing for a Norwegian band who is like an originator or is a progeny of someone who originated black metal. It's another thing for some cunt from the United States to tell me what is and isn't black metal, and there's too many of you to count, and you're not fucking cool, and you're a cunt. And that applies to millions.
I feel like we're derailing here.
I'm not derailing anything. I'm just saying if you feel like that black metal needs to adhere to one specific mold, like corpse paint, this one specific sonic profile, if you will, whether you're American or European, I think that's bullshit. That's all I'm saying. I ain't derailing, son. I know exactly where I'm going.
it's a debate that I don't think will have an end to it because, you have the founders who have that formula, and then you have a lot of bands that are coming out now that are almost they're not defying that form. You come across these bands that you hear and you're like, they have black metal elements. Stop it. They have black metal elements, but are they a black metal band?
It depends on the band. Like
Carach, depends on the band.
We were just talking about Carach Angren. They have a lot of.
They started
elements
out with ghost stories,
like
right?
their syncopation and shit that really sets them apart from black metal. But essentially, they're a symphonic black metal band. But they have a lot of things that set them apart too. So what do you really categorize them as?
Well, it's just like, Cradle of Filth's been touted as black metal for the longest time.
Both bands, Carach Angren and Cradle of Filth, I feel like are more known for their t-shirts. Carach Angren, you came to the wrong forest.
Wrong fucking forest, motherfucker. That's right.
Or Jesus is a cunt from
Right.
Cradle of Filth. I feel like those bands are almost as well known, if not more so, by their controversial t-shirts than their actual music in the black metal scene. And in the black metal scene, I feel like at least half of people would declare Cradle of Filth, at least, untrue bullshit, as opposed to Carach Angren, which I feel like gets a little bit more love, but they're not accepted in the Y realm, or at least they're ignored. Carach Angren is hardly mentioned in the sphere of not only metal, but black metal.
Okay. Alright, so being a big fan of both these bands, I feel like I have a little bit to say about this. Anyways.
Stop touching the goddamn table.
So here's the deal. For the longest time, Cradle of Filth did not market themselves as a black metal band. It wasn't until Manticore and Other Horrors, or the most recent album.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true. I have a Revolver magazine in my closet. It's got Shagrath, Denny Filth,
and Nergal. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
I have that magazine
Denny
too.
Filth argues that black metal. This is laughable for me to even say. I don't agree with this. To say that all music, including black metal, comes from a place of love. That's all I can say to that.
Look, we're gonna have to talk about that later, because I'm not gonna give up on Danny Filth yet.
I'm not saying you should talk shit about Danny Filth, but he said that he felt like black metal and all music.
It definitely comes from a place of passion.
Passion and love are very different things,
and conviction.
Hitler was very passionate about the
why are we
extermination of
still
the Jews.
talking about this shit? Jesus
We're talking
Christ.
about black metal, son.
Doesn't mean yet. Oh my god. Illustration of why Antifa attacks bands like Take all the time. Which, by the way, is a fucking easy win, by the way. Okay? Like, I'm pissed about this, okay?
Let's not get into this. Let's just not. You know what we should do right now?
What's that?
We should end the show.
You're right. You know what? I feel like there's a tangent that will keep going on, but you're going to wait till the next episode to see it.
But what you don't have to wait for next episode for is for me to tell you where you can find us. Go to Facebook.com. You can find us at The Fundamentalist. You can find us on Instagram at The Fundamentalist. You can email us at The Fundamentalist. Be sure to send us your band or your homie's band. We are wanting to play people. I've had a lot of people.
And we're willing to rep people too. Hashtag Dark Star fucking Coven.
Local Pensacola metal. This shirt right here is from just a clothing company in Britain. It just happens to be an 80s horror movie, whatever, fuck me.
Yeah.
But definitely send us your music, whether it doesn't have to be any sort of metal. I know we kind of focus on extreme metal here, but that's just kind of the way the news has been going. So don't think that you have to be a black or death metal band to get featured on here. You could send me some new wave of British heavy metal shit, harkening back to late 60s, early 70s, and we'll fucking play you and fucking love you. So if you have a metal band or if your homie's got a metal band, send in your music. We'll play it. Who doesn't want free publicity? You can also check us out at thefundamentalists.com for the podcast edition of the show. We'll eventually include links to the YouTube show and other cool things on the website. I'm still working on it. This show just launched
it's growing as we go, people.
12 or 13 days ago, and this is our third episode, so give me a break. Give us both a break, I should say. Other than that, thank you so much for listening or watching. Like, we have 2 different channels here, so regardless of how you go about listening to us, we appreciate you.
We don't do this for us. We do this for you.
Well, we definitely. I'm gonna just.
He's doing this for us.
I definitely do it for myself. Honestly, I don't think that everybody listens to me every episode. I mean, I'm a nobody. I'm an absolute fucking nobody. I played in nobody fucking bands. I had a nobody fucking podcast, and now I have another nobody podcast. So the fact that you're even sitting here listening to me, and if you've listened to this point in the podcast, horns and fucking hails to you, ma'am or sir or child or zer or G, whatever the fuck you identify.
This is the Fundamentals Network, and you have wandered into the right fucking forest, motherfucker.
I'm fucking proud of you. Yes. Yes. You have wandered into the right forest, motherfucker. Nice metal reference. I'm proud of this son of a bitch. This has been the Fundamentals show, not podcast. My name is Duel.
This is Daniel.